Well, how about we get started? Because we're gonna be changing things on the fly, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. As always, we do a round of introductions, and since we do have a new face here, then we could introduce yourself to the audience. I'm James Miller, I'm chairman of the Council on Aging Board.
Hi, I'm Lucille Sorrentino, I'm on the board.
Caitlin Coyle, I'm a board member.
Henry A., board member.
Elaine Barry, liaison for DeVos.
Leslie James, board member.
Janice Desmond, board member.
Kathy Clarkson, I'm the transportation coordinator.
And Linda Hayes, director of the COA.
And welcome again, Kathy. Kathy with a K or a C?
Kathy with the K, but I answered in.
Oh, you answered it? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, well, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, it's
How
funny.
long have you been on board? So it's just been a couple of weeks?
Well, I started volunteering a couple of
Yeah.
years ago, and then I volunteered at the reception desk, and I just started Monday.
And you're still here.
Yes. They haven't looked at those of me yet.
Actually, it's been a wonderful week, a really easy week, so it was great. A little familiar, but also quite confident. We made a great
Well, there's
choice.
a lot of juggling that goes on, so.
She has
There
been
is a lot of
helping.
juggling,
so-
but that's okay.
So
I
welcome.
like a challenge.
Good.
She has been. One of the reasons you see sort of an increase in trips over the last year or more is because Kathy has been helping sort of plan, organize, and execute all those trips. So it helped, otherwise we really couldn't have done it. We set for activities and transportation. But it's funny, in the beginning, probably because that's just how she introduced herself initially, it was Kathleen. And then finally, at one point, for some reason, we asked, and Kathy was fine, and then today I'm like, hey, Kath? So it has evolved very quickly.
Transition.
Yeah.
Nice. Pretty soon it's gonna be hey.
Get it? So it's good.
Very good. Well, welcome again.
Thank
Good.
you.
Glad to have you on board. So why don't we review our June minutes briefly? I know Linda sent them out.
Janice did do them.
Yesterday or a day before, so I don't know if anybody had a chance to take a look at them.
I did read through them before I sent you on.
Seems like a long time ago already.
I will.
There's a lot of stuff that could be sort of updated.
Oh, true. It should be this one. I actually wasn't sure under old business what advisors concentrating on applications and coordinating events and dates. I actually couldn't remember what that was. But I left it. I can. So I don't know if anyone else remembers, or, I mean, I assume it belongs there.
Welcome.
It's relevant. Oh, sorry to be late. Just looking at the minutes.
You're right
Oh,
on.
I
You're
can't.
No.
right on.
No.
Well, does anybody have any questions or comments on minutes? Do I hear a motion to accept minutes? Second?
Second.
Very good. Well, so we've just been joined by Karen Canfield.
Hi,
Our
everybody.
new.
And I know you've got a scheduling issue tonight, right?
It's
So-
just one of those nights.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's summer.
So, well, we just want to make sure we plug in whatever we want to have your time while you're here.
Oh, no, I mean, go, I'm scheduled for 6.
Okay,
But thank you, appreciate
okay.
I'm sure
And
everybody
Board, welcome.
knows that she is the Board of Selectmen and our new liaison, so.
it. It's the new news, yeah. We reorganize every fiscal year, so he has his plate full as chair and he has to take over, so you're right.
That's great, we're lucky.
Okay, so next on the agenda is we want to zero in on a secretary for this board. Given that Janice Lindblom will be relieving herself of those duties. Do we quickly and easily have a volunteer who would like to step forward and take over these responsibilities? Would be my question number one. Secondly, I would also say, I think it's perfectly acceptable for us to split up that duty, for example, between a couple of people. And split it every other month or some combination along those lines, so no one is burdened, if you will, with minutes every month. So I would suggest we consider that, but we need an acting secretary.
And I certainly am support at this end if it comes to typing, formatting, just making things more palatable, copying, I do all of that. I'll look at it even when you send it to me. And if you write it out, I'll type it. And oftentimes, you're not taking complete notes here, and you might watch the video that is being used. So I had to do it a couple of months ago, and it was
I volunteer.
And I volunteer to share.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, you can have your choice if you want to.
I get a gift?
Short pad, long pad, loose paper.
No, you gotta share it. No, you have to share the gift.
Well, whoever's doing it tonight, you're doing it tonight. Because then she might not be here next time. She probably won't be here next time.
Well, that's-
Although we'll welcome the baby come
Yeah, absolutely.
September.
Okay,
You can have one meeting off and then the baby.
okay, sounds good.
And I can email and
Figure out a little
That's great.
schedule.
Thank
well,
you.
thank you both for stepping up.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time and the future time. So, that's great.
Yes.
So while we move to Linda's
Oh,
correct report.
All right. All right. Well, I actually prefaced this in the report as well, but honest to God, I feel like we just met on June 14th. We had the volunteer luncheon the very next week on the 19th, which went well, and it was great. And I went to California, then we had the July 4th barbecue, and I mentioned this because, it's a team effort. We all sort of really have to jump in and do a lot to prepare for those and pull them off. Then we had the holiday, and now we're here. So I just don't feel like I had a month to do anything else. But we have been interviewing and are very happy to have reaped the benefit of Kathy Clarkson having applied for the
I
job.
thought it was hey you.
Could be
To
anything.
you. Our offices are right next to each other, I do. So anyway, we have filled the transportation coordinator position. We have Kathy Clarkson with us, who is familiar with the staff. She's been really a working volunteer, a great help to us for the last year and a half or 2 years. And has municipal experience, which really was nice, not that she needed, but never hurts to have some experience like that. So that was busy. I have been trying to work on arranging some of the events we've talked about here that I'll go into a little bit later, but that's a lot of communication. Some quick grant applications with MCOA, I may have talked about before, but the hearing devices and the walk
Yes.
funding, it's small, but it was still something we had to apply for. And the Job Seekers Networking Group, I have been support. Jenny is also the co-facilitator, so Jenny has gone every other week to that meeting, which is 2.5 hours at least of her time, and it's been really successful, I would say, in growing. And the funniest thing about that is it's been in the newsletter, we did post some flyers around town in the library and a few other places. but we used a sandwich board right at the community building, which apparently everybody passes. And it's been the best advertising, honest to God. We should start trying to do more, I suppose, but most of the calls she has received are people that show up for the group have seen that sign, which is really good. So it meets every other week. It will end the end of August, but she had asked and thought we should apply so that MCOA would continue to support it, because currently Susan has been on the text work-off program. Now, those hours have already been exhausted. She's just continuing as a volunteer at this point, but we probably, we think, will be selected as one of the 6 sites. And she told me that actually it was significant that we were applying as the age-friendly network, for the age-friendly network, and I think that might help. Also that she lives here. She's not going to be the facilitator. She will select someone else and assign someone else to that. But well, they have had easily 14, 15 people at most of their meetings. Topics change every week.
Good.
And the demographic has generally been, I think, around the 58 to 65, 7 age range. So it's doing what it's intended to do. So pickleball has transitioned to Gates, but it's hot. I mean, not Gates, the recreation gym. I did get to go. I went up for the Foss Golf luncheon and auction. That was fun. They did a good job. It was a great turnout, and I think everybody enjoyed themselves, as usual, even though it rained in the morning, but it was a lovely afternoon. Jill even volunteered for them in the morning, so we did try to contribute. So transportation, I've introduced our new coordinator. We did just get our new GATRA contract, which is level funded again. And there is, or has been, discussion about fee increases,
Right.
both on the dial or ride-in, which is our service, which is currently $1.25 each way. And prior to, well, even maybe a year and a half ago, we asked for donations, but we didn't actually charge a fee. And then GATRA really wanted everybody to consistently do that. So it seems like we haven't really been doing it for that long, which we haven't, but now they propose to go up to be $1.50 on that end, and then the sloop would go up a quarter, really, for seniors, from
But that's
50
still a
cents to 75 cents.
proposal, correct?
Right,
I mean,
but-
it's probably gonna happen, I would guess.
It is probably, but they had some public hearings, none of which were near here, and I had meant to go to the Plymouth one, but I forgot. But that information is going to get looked at, and then it's going to be presented to the advisory board, so I go to those meetings, and then we'll actually vote on it. The advisory board will vote on the fee increase, so technically speaking, we decided not to do it, but not to say they have a budget deficit, but they're not getting the state and federal funding that they asked for. They asked for more. They have, you know, they've been trying to make improvements, they have maintenance, they do a lot for the 28 communities that they serve. So it won't necessarily help cure all, but it would help. So in that case, it probably will happen. It would mean, for instance, we do a 10-ride pass just to make it really $1 a ride for everybody, and that would go up from $10 to $15. You know, it's fine, and if we needed to subsidize, we could. And we still have money, transportation money, that comes in from through South Shore Elder Services and the Title III Older Americans Act. So we have some money there that we use judiciously, or we use on our own. We don't tell people that we're using it, it's just for those we know have a overtime fee. So that's that in a nutshell. Mark Donovan is also still completing our new radio, just so that we can communicate with the bands more than just in the direct vicinity. He's been doing quite a lot for us in that regard. We have the radio, but now he needs to get all the antenna equipment and install it, and that should happen this month. So then it will be done. And we'll be able to talk to them in any town.
It does get a little
He
fuzzy
says-
in North Situate.
It does, and we could go beyond, which we do go beyond. Jenny Gervis, our outreach coordinator, is now working 30 hours, beginning July 1, the new fiscal year. And then come September 10th, she will become full-time and will have 35 hours. So her job function, her role isn't changing, but it just means she can do more, would have more opportunity. And, you know, I had really probably wanted that before, but we did have Laura, and although we do still have Laura, the social worker, she is under the umbrella of the Department of Public Health, and does serve the whole town, which just limit her sometimes. But she and Jenny work well together, and they still meet regularly, as we, 3 of us do. So I think it'll be great, and I'm glad Jenny decided to take that. Bob Clark is our new HR director in town, for the town. And he was very helpful. He was helpful with the interviews, with the posting of the jobs, and for just helping me make some changes. So I think he's a great asset to like. So our application to the age-friendly network of communities was accepted on Friday last week, so I did send that out to everybody. It's very exciting. So I have the letter there is after my report, so you have it. It is nice. As it turned out, we have a sort of a liaison there at AARP, and I have met him before, so he just took on this role, but he was in another role, and I had met and talked with him a few times, so he's a nice guy. So I think that's exciting. Something concrete that we can now look at and start to promote, which we can talk about a little bit later as well. A few of the programs that, we are scheduling. Oh, and I went to California, which was awesome. I mean, it seemed like a lot for one day of training, but it was great training. And it will be a great workshop. I do, however, have a lot to do. So they put what is 4 weeks, a 4-week workshop, 2 hours a week into one day of sort of, telling the trainer what they should know and what they would like us to convey and how they would like us to convey it. And now I have to really know how to do that. So I am working on that, and then we'll schedule a little bit of a pilot. Could also train another trainer to have a partner.
Anything online you can use?
Well, I have all I have everything, but it's just.
So what was the training?
It's in
Memory?
memory training. So it's a memory training workshop. When I submitted the grant to SCF, I called it Rebooting Your Memory. It is for, non-clinical, just age-related memory concerns, which, we have starting at what, age 40? You know what I mean? And it's techniques and strategies. It's learning a bit about the memory, how it works, and why this is happening. And sometimes once you know that, you realize, oh, I'm just not paying enough attention to that little piece of information that I want. So it's how to make relationships with the information. It was wonderful. So we'll do it. I can train another person to do it with me or continue to do that. So we have a license now for the next year to do that training. And then I was going to supplement it with some other workshops, memoir writing for an essay, a visual board, an audio storytelling or something that we could arrange with the students at high school. So anyway, September, October is the target. Need to schedule it and find some time for that. Aging Mastery, we do plan to do again. We usually start in September, but we're putting that off a little bit till October, I believe, but we still have to plan those weeks. And the health fair should happen in October as well. Happens fast. Couple things coming up. We haven't done this since I've been here, at least for 4.5 years, but a 90th birthday party, which I think they used to do, and it's a good idea. So Lisa and Jenny are handling that, but that's happening August 3rd. We are doing the art and craft sale really, that we had done last year, and that Joanne Papandrea has done with us before. So we're having it at the community building on a Saturday only. Last year we tried 2 days, and it was great, but it was a lot. So again, that building has good visibility. Even just walkers stopping in because they see the sign and they wonder what's going on, and they come in and look at some good art and can buy it. So we'll have some crafters and a few other things. I think we're not promoting it a great deal that way, mostly an art show and sale with her students and others in the community that she knows. And then lobster luncheon we are planning for August 28th. We can talk about this a little bit later too under old business, but Heritage Days, I guess I'm still working on that postcard that we think we'll give out, working with Voss at the Jack Conway site. The Go for Life Family Fun Walk that we got a little money from MCOA to do, and it's supposed to be a Sunday in September. So wisely, I haven't finished the sort of permit application you need to fill out because you need to know a lot of, and I don't know the route yet. I was just trying to figure that out. But I did decide to email Chief Stewart just to say, what do you think we should do? And he said, well, the first thing you should do is check the Patriot schedule. And was he ever right? I mean, that's like, but of course, which I did. And so one of the dates I was considering is not a good date. The 23rd ends up probably being the best day because it's a night game. Not that it's a big deal, but then when I went on to think about the date for the military band concert on November 11th, it's like, that's a Sunday too. So that day is a 1 o'clock game. We were sort of planning, well, at least I was planning it for 3, so now I hedged and said, well, maybe 4 or 5, but I gave them options, or I hope they'll be flexible, so we shall see with that. But so I've been working on that sort of stuff, but interested in having a little, the subcommittee people interested in helping plan the events. The walk should be the kickoff for, I think we talked about having it as the kickoff for the Age-Friendly initiative, and because it is family-friendly, we could have some, depending on where we go, what we do, and I have thoughts that I won't go into here, but I thought we could have some stuff going on, some activities at the end, and that would help. So that is that for me. Moving on, just to take a quick look at Jenny's report for outreach. She mentions that she has seen 23 seniors, which encompassed 21 different services that she might perform, categories on the left. But many of the seniors see her for more than one service or more than one time to complete whatever it is that they need help with. So it comes out to 49 interactions. So she does record almost everything she does on an incremental basis. She does still do her 4 housing authorities, and as I mentioned, she's been the co-facilitator. I thought it was great, good for her to have a different kind of a venue to connect with, a different demographic, but that might, be good for them to know about outreach in the senior center, and she seems a good pick for doing that. I don't think she's minded. Transportation report, which Kathleen did for the first time, and it's orientation really at this point too. When we put in rides, of course, we do try to indicate what category they're using the ride for, but even that needs some work and massaging and I think going from Jean, who had already started to make some changes, and I'm sure Kathleen might have some other ideas. But looks like the rides went down, but we think that's probably explained by sometimes summer activities. Some of our exercise is on hiatus, so we're not bringing those people in, and they're not that happy about that. Well, at least one of them, the one we pay for, we pay Norwell VNA for a class. It's the joint efforts. It's the low impact. It's here, but it's fairly expensive to have the PTs come in. So we have always not done it in July and August, but it does disappoint a few of the people that come regularly. So we're working on that. But we've had some trips. The fitness exercise, of course, for the most part, is still great.
I would also guess that it's some of its families coming back in to
Yeah.
visit, and they're
Yeah, they
available
can.
to handle the transportation.
Exactly.
Yep, absolutely. Our supper club is, I think, popular. They went to the East Bay Grill last month, and that was fun. Our scheduled trips, like Shaw's and the Harbor, and Walk, which is great. It's almost getting difficult because they want to go everywhere once they're there. It's not just Trader Joe's or Walmart, it's a few other things.
So we might have to expand the time,
We might.
their shopping time.
Contained, but, so the numbers are what they are. 77 clients were served by transportation. Anything to add or anything that you would say?
Not yet. I think I'm just trying to keep my head above water.
Doing quite well with that. So for activities too, Lisa's got activities on one side of that sheet and the volunteer hours on the other, which has gone down a bit, but it is summer, and I think she talks about the fact that, the desk is a little bit emptier, but we're fine, it's fine with that, and the phone system is actually working a little bit better. I did update it with Kathy's name. They can talk to the front desk, but they can also choose to bypass the front desk and go directly to the staff, which, at first, we like the front desk person answering the phone and having a chance to interact, but at the same time, we're getting used to it, and it does seem to be working efficiently. A couple of things, I guess, though. The men's breakfast, which happens once a month, we have been doing it at Widows Walk, but in June, they did a tour of the police, fire, and safety complex, which they really liked, and we have Brad Stenbeck, Officer Stenbeck, young Officer Stenbeck, who is our senior resource officer, so to speak, connected to us. So nice to have him, and he's been great with the group. And Al Elliott also spoke with them as well. Lisa has started a ladies' breakfast, which is catching on, which is great because she's serving a little food. I think they were always a little envious the men have the breakfast, but of course women mostly go to all of our activities. But anyway, she has started something and is showing a variety of TED Talks, which they're discussing, and so it's started to catch on word of mouth, so they are enjoying it. Lou Rizzo, who normally comes here every month and sits in case someone does want to talk or has a matter to bring to the senator's attention. But anyway, they came and had an ice cream party, served ice cream. We can get pictures, we should have posted those somewhere, but it was great, very nice. Kennedy Flowers did allow us to take pots to dress up St. Mary's when we had our barbecue there two Fridays ago before the 4th, which was nice. We've done it out in the parking lot for 2 years, which really needed dressing up, so that was very important. But you know what, it actually was nice at St. Mary's too, because it's a big room and we didn't need quite that much for this. Had they known, maybe it would be that good, but you know, it's funny, a few people bought them, which I don't know that
Bought
had
the
happened, bought
flowers.
the arrangements, they gave us a 20% discount on them, and a week later I said, "Gee, I wish I bought one." So it's a good thing. So good for them to have done that. So that is, and you know, I mentioned 194 hours, I guess I started to do that for volunteers here, where I think last month was 400 hours. But again, that's the difference between June and, oh no, this was June and May, I guess. But in terms of total event sign-ins, last month was 280 and this month was 282. So that's good. So we're doing something right, I guess. Up by 2. Okay, that is my report.
Okay.
Any questions?
Anybody have any questions?
Concerns?
Only question I have on the transportation,
Mm-hmm.
the 77 clients,
Mm-hmm.
for June, there's a total of 618 rides.
Right.
Does that mean on average, each person took 9 rides?
It does, that's what
Is
it,
that-
at least that. I mean, some are very regular and do many of our scheduled
Three
trips.
days a week.
Could be 5 days, and some medical rides might be 5 days. Well, maybe not 5 days a week, but 3 days a week. I know we have a couple of patients who do something regular, so, yep. We do count every ride, so that's the 618, but
Right.
the unduplicated is the single rider. We did have Joanne LaFerrara, who is the customer relations representative for Gatto. She did come yesterday. I did think there would be more attendance. I don't know if people just maybe hadn't noticed it in the newsletter. I don't know if that's a good real estate there. For transportation options, and people do come in, and Jill can take the picture and email it and send it up when they get their ID cards, their discount ID cards, Charlie card on one side, an ID. So we had maybe 3 people come in for that, but people often ask, what can you use them for? What are the options? What's the difference between this and this? So I did think we might have some more attendance. We didn't. And she did come from Taunton, but it's always good to see her, and she got to meet Kathy, and she is a good resource for people, and she does know everything about ADA. So when it comes to making sure we're in compliance and doing what we need to do, or if we get calls with questions. When a caller does call in that's under 60, then we either print out or get them the application that GATRA requires, and then they send it in to be, not so much approved, but to be registered with GATRA, and then we can provide that service to them under 60. So that's how that. Just to the side.
Very good.
JD,
Yes.
I know, I guess we're going to talk about age-friendly in a little bit, but I just wanted to thank Caitlin. Caitlin, I think, was the one that kind of brought the program to our attention, and I know worked with Linda, I think Maud a little bit. I think that age-friendly program is going to pay huge dividends for our efforts over the next year and a half, 2 years. And it's going to be a great benefit to the community generally. So, Caitlin, thank you very much for bringing that whole thing to our attention and encouraging us to move forward with all your hard work on it.
We want to let people know about it.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, now we have to get to work.
Yeah, the work has just begun.
Good. Well, Karen, I'm going to turn over to you for a liaison report from the Board of Selectmen.
All right, well, I love the new logo.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Sharp. Some of you were at the Board of Selectmen meeting on Tuesday, but if you weren't, I'm happy to report that the board approved the contract for Barton, now I'll say it wrong,
Barton
Hendry, architectural firm to do the design work for the senior center. So that is signed, sealed, and out to work. They're going to get started. So that is huge. And really, That's the biggest piece, I think, that's happened since your last meeting.
Was
Just huge.
Yeah, I didn't bother to report on the BBC meeting because I figured this would.
Yeah, and we.
But was there discussion or just signed? Just approved?
There was a bunch of discussion about, Gordon, Dr. Price was there, and Elaine, I think you were there, about the scope, which I neglected to, do you have a copy of that?
I do have a copy.
It will be
Great.
online as well, now that it's a signed contract, but I'm sorry, I just ran
I
out the door
noticed
without
it as
it.
well.
The scope is very, I thought the way they handled it, that you guys crafted how to do to break out the scope of the project was really good, because it's complicated using taking a site that has an existing building, and the town, of course, wants to make sure that we are pound-wise as well, so we want to look at the other facilities, but we don't want that to impede the stand. It very clearly says we're going to build a standalone building, and then we're going to look at these. Correct me if I've got this wrong. So we're going to look at the other features, like how do we get ADA compliance to the gym, because we'll have to do that.
Right.
Those things. So it was very, I thought, thoughtful the way, I think you mentioned it, that they listened to what the Public Building Commission said, went back and revised the contract so that we can pull out the components. And why that's important is because the components are not related to the senior center. We want to maximize additional funding
Well,
sources so that it doesn't impact the ask for.
I think it basically laid out the scope as number one, standing at senior center. Number two, using a portion of the B wing and making it an addition, which was the new scope. And then three, looking at the recreation center, so to speak, or
Right.
area of the building for compliance and improvements and upgrades. But some
By carving those out,
on the
we can
PVC, so
then
keep it separate.
explore and try to find additional sources of funding for those components so it won't impact. Dr. Price?
There's a lot of variables still.
Pardon me?
A lot of variables still floating.
It
So
will
as soon as we
be-
get them to work, we'll start to whittle those variables down.
Yeah,
So,
but I think what you were saying is that we've got a good team that understands and is responsive to it, so we
I
need
think-
to just really make sure.
I think the
our eyes are
concern
followed.
at this point, hopefully, it doesn't impact the timetable, so that was, I think, the biggest concern. With a little bit of the delay, was that we hope to get to town meeting in April, and because I know John,
Will that happen?
the OPM, well.
Not April of 2015.
19.
19. Right, okay.
That was the hope, that was,
Okay.
I mean, first it was a special town meeting, and then it became April 2019.
Yeah.
And our OPM said back in March, the first time we met, that was aggressive even, to get, but it could be done. Now, I don't know what the discussion on that has
We're just gonna
become.
move through the process and keep on,
I-
keep the pedal to the metal to a degree.
Yeah, I did not, until Tuesday night, I had not heard that there was a consideration of maybe going out without the actual bid documents. That was news to me. But that's another piece that we'll have to debate.
Which is not what was presented
Right.
before.
No,
that
but that's,
town
if you
meeting,
want to
but
make
now-
the timing, that might
Right.
be
I
something.
know.
So those are the variables.
Town meeting,
Right.
Because if there's not enough time to do that, should we still go, I guess?
Because otherwise you have to delay it. So those are the pieces that have to be ironed out.
Yeah.
One thing that I really want to stress from, I think from your comments is looking for renderings and things like that for fundraising and all of those activities. I think even more important than that is mobilizing forces as soon as possible to make sure that the votes, that you get people, assume we're going to come to town meeting in April. We'll get to that point. But the work to get people there to support it, that is the whole name of the game. And I don't mean to say it that way, but if people aren't there to support it and raise their hands and vote for it, it doesn't happen. And that effort, as Dr. Price and I did this with the library and the schools, of course, could be a great resource. Because they really, they know how to do it, and they're the ones who come out to vote. I would really encourage them to think about that as well, and thoughts, of course. That's gonna be a key component.
Mhm.
But that's all the news today. Any questions that I can answer?
Can I comment, Karen, on what you just
Always.
said? You know, very appreciative of everything the board is doing to keep the project moving forward. You know, I had seen Joel Bargman's kind of timeline of how he thought he would be able to pull this off, and I think that, I didn't bring it with me tonight, but I think he's looking to try to have something that is conceptual within about 3 months, and as I mentioned at the Board of Selectmen's meeting on Tuesday night, you know, it's hard for us to do what Karen just mentioned, to garner that support unless people know what they're supporting.
Right.
So right now, it's kind of this vague idea of there being a senior center somewhere on the site, but I think as Joel, you know, delves into his work, I was very impressed by one of the meetings, the meeting, I think, before the Public Building Committee. He said, I really want to get started on this like now, and he really wants to get going on it. So I think, you know, he will do everything he can to try to at least get something into, you know, presented to the Board of Selectmen so that we can then go out and do some, you know, groundwork and do some fundraising. But I say, until that time comes, I think it's going to be a little difficult to do, although some of that work can be done.
Right, you do the organizational
Yeah,
piece in
right.
anticipation of
Right,
having
right.
the presentation piece.
And, you know,
I mean, you do have.
Well, part of that is
components, you know
also
what you
just-
want
I
to
think
deliver.
I
Coming
could
back,
sell that.
we talked about this the other night, coming back to letting people know all the time where things are.
mhm.
Right, that's very.
The
Yeah.
process. and-
Even if we don't have a whole lot to say.
Right.
Yeah.
We let them know this is where things are.
Mhm.
And I did speak to, a while ago, but she said her boss wasn't there, but I'll get back to Ruth Thompson, because I said, we really need a column, you know, and whoever has the most information, you know, like, whatever you're saying today
Well, it
sounds
was
pretty
piece
good.
in the
If they didn't get to
today.
a
Yeah.
meeting, yeah,
That's a really vital.
Yeah,
I do
so,
really worry about that.
you know, we
So
should.
don't let
engage-
it, don't let it die. Always
Right.
keep
No,
it,
no,
Engage
no,
always
I
keep
was
it out
waiting,
there.
I was waiting for you to, you know, we have to decide who could, who will write the first one. I mean, it doesn't, you know, whoever is very involved, just let's have that update and let them know. If they can't get to these selectmen meetings,
Well, I think the driving information piece is the Public Building Commission, because they are in the
Okay.
driver's seat as far as the process.
Okay.
It doesn't get to us until there's
Did you say the
something that
building?
needs to be
The building
presented
committee?
or board.
The building?
Public
Public
Building
Building
Commission.
Commission. So that-
Committee. Is it commission or committee? I never remember.
I think it's commission.
Commission. They are
Okay.
charged with overseeing
okay.
the building, the
But we're at the
process.
meeting and we can
Yeah.
report. I mean, I was reporting,
Who's
it's
the
just that
point
we didn't have
person
anything.
at the
Yeah.
building commission?
Well, the chairperson is Ed Cassell.
Yeah.
But as you guys, as the vote, as the member users on
Right.
that board, you'll have the most up-to-date information. If you want to write stuff up, I'll do all I can to make sure that it's, you know,
It's on
on
point.
social media and, you know, the different things that.
Right, so,
The more you're absolutely right, the more we can engage people and inform them of the process, the better. And it's good too, because if somebody goes, well, I don't like that, there's at least time to
Yeah.
debate whether or not.
and there'll be no
Public
surprises
sessions,
because
that
they're
will-
getting, you know, they're getting current.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
In the contract, that is a very important thing, in the contract, there is, they will be, I forget how many it is, but they will, are required to have public
Probably-
comment.
Yeah,
Oh,
probably three,
okay.
and maybe one at the end of August.
Yeah, oh, no, I said
The
when they
community
came
input.
August.
Yeah. So it'd be an open public session, you know, to have the architect come to listen to the Situate residents who come and ask questions, or give them an
And
opinion.
then do that after, you know,
Yep.
rendering, and then do it.
So I'll get in touch with Ruth and ask her when we could, when they'll have space for us, and then I'll turn it over to you guys, okay?
The next meeting of the BBC is July 31st, actually.
For the 26th.
They must have changed it at the last
Oh,
meeting.
31st is probably right, yeah.
PBC's.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so Sean Harris is now liaison to
Yep.
that.
He was at the last
Yep.
meeting.
Yeah,
And
he-
we must have we left after our segment, and then they must have set the next meeting off schedule, so after we, after.
Yeah, okay.
Good.
Anybody have any questions for Karen?
Okay. I just want to say one thing. I remember when the when they were building the fire and police, they came to the Rotary and they answered all kinds of questions. And one of the things that they kept telling us was what it would cost the taxpayer.
Mhm.
So, they broke it down to a small amount. So I do think that would be key.
Yes.
Once we get those prices, to say what will, this is what it's gonna cost as an upgrade on your taxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And that is part of the, hopefully we'll get funding from the state if Senator O'Connor, I should let you know that I'm taking as my responsibility is to make sure.
Chase him down?
Well, no, he's asked very specifically, keep me in the loop, so
Good.
when there are
Okay.
major milestones, he can be the, squawking at the State House, because just because we're allocated funds doesn't mean it will be necessarily
Right.
No, it doesn't.
actual money.
Right.
And that he is very open and encourages us to keep him up to date, so I will make sure that he.
Duxbury got money for their addition.
Yeah,
Addition.
so to answer, to your point, when we have a design that can be priced, then we'll look at all of the bags of money that we have potential, and then Nancy Holt will figure out that, average cost per home kind of
And something
thing.
else that came up was the fact that, and I don't know if we could hold them to it, but we have a couple of debts that are coming free in about a year or two.
Mhm.
Did we hear that?
Mhm.
So
Jenkins.
would that have an
Yeah, some of
impact
the,
on?
like
The overall tax bill.
What is
Yeah.
walk is it?
Right, yeah, all of that math is really, I think is key. When you are ready to do the real come out, and you have to give people that information.
Yeah,
And so, yeah,
they'll
that-
ask.
They should
Sure.
ask.
Okay, good.
So, yeah, but that'll be we need a lot more before we can get there.
Oh, yeah.
One of the interesting things too that Joel mentioned, and I think maybe Karen can correct me if I'm wrong, but he said something like, the timing that the bid goes out is kind of critical. So if you're putting a bid out when most of these contractors who do this kind of work are working,
Right.
you're probably not going to get
Have
the
a
best bid.
Right.
So he said, it may be that, you have to look at the state of the economy and how things are going next spring to see whether that's an appropriate time to put it out to bid or not.
Right.
So, the all kinds of extenuating
Yeah.
circumstances that,
It's hard to time the economy, but
Yeah.
point taken, yeah.
Yeah.
If developers are busy,
Mm-hmm.
some of them are gonna put it aside and say, we can't
Right.
touch that because we're too busy. And
Right,
other
or
ones-
give you a
and other ones-
crazy number.
Right, that are gonna put in a bid are gonna give us a high number, so.
Yeah. Well, those are all the factors. I mean, the bottom line is, we want to get it done, we want to get it as fast as possible for the best prices
Mhm.
possible.
Right.
So all that gets thrown in, and
Yeah, most stuff,
hopefully it all comes out really well.
clear. Okay, great,
Thank you.
well,
Thank you, Karen.
appreciate you taking a few minutes today I know you're running around to various things, so.
I know, well, I'm excited. I'm going to the Sister City
right.
Bastille Day Festival,
Mhm.
which I get to go to for half an hour before the festival. But I'm sorry,
It's a nice idea.
Well, all right.
And you know what, you got a great tan.
I know, it was such a good weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Great. All right,
All right,
thanks.
Karen, thanks.
Thank you,
And
Karen.
Paul, if anything, you have any questions, reach out to me directly. To
Thanks.
put my 2 cents in.
Awesome, thanks.
You didn't hear tonight.
No, I talked to Joan Power, Social Ulcers did not have a meeting
Ah.
last month for her to even attend, so there was no report. And she just wanted me to make sure I mentioned that, as she always usually closes, the community dinner this month is this coming, no, not this coming, it's July 22nd, so a week from this coming weekend. July 22nd, St. Luke's, community dinner. So she wanted me to mention that, make sure I mention that for our audience, for our community dinner on July 22nd, Sunday.
Tell you to mention pancake breakfast too?
You know, she didn't tell me to mention the Rotary's pancake breakfast that you'll be cooking for.
No,
Yes.
that's not you, not me, I don't, know.
Which is Saturday of
I'll
Heritage,
take
since
orders.
I'm right there, since you've set me up for that. So it's Saturday, the 4th of August,
St.
from
Luke's.
7:30 to 11
To
at
11.
St. Luke's.
Mhm.
Blueberry pancakes, come on down and eat as much as you can, right?
Yes.
Heritage Day weekend, and then come walk back, come get down to the harbor and play. Right,
Okay, good, thank
so,
you.
thanks
Oh, and one more thing.
thanks for that setup.
I wanted, one more thing, because I gotta run a little while. We talked about Heritage Days and the bake sale, stuff like that. Okay, so I'll be doing it on Sunday. So anybody want to contribute some baking, that would be terrific, okay?
I created a flyer, which I could
You got
put
the
out
flyer?
about the food and with the instructions for how to bring it, how to store it, how to wrap it,
Yeah,
Oh, good,
how to
okay,
label it.
thank
how to
you.
label it.
We'll-
Right.
So I have the flyer.
Okay, we need that. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Well, that's sort of a segue to Elaine with Foss.
I want to start off with the fact that the golf tournament was a huge success. We raised over $14,000.
Awesome.
That was
Good.
phenomenal.
Excellent.
And we're gearing up for Heritage Days. We'll be sending out a news blast to all of our members to ask them for baked goods too, so.
Okay, yeah, I'm worried.
Where we,
always
we usually
worried.
have plenty of baked goods, we usually get plenty. Because Clomley does some baking too, even though the
Really?
young people don't bake.
I was thinking St. Luke's is having they're having their thing, right? At the same time we're having
Oh, they're
the,
having the same thing.
and I might buy their bake sales to bring to.
I hope you mark up.
Whoever bakes need to say if there's nuts
Yeah.
and what the
Right.
recipe
Okay, we
is.
gotta know all
And
that.
you have to price it.
Right,
Oh,
You have to wrap it and price it.
that's right, you guys talked about this one, the
And,
Department of Health wants to
You
make
need,
sure
it needs to be
everything's-
labeled so that they know that there's no nuts in it,
Yeah.
or it's
Okay.
gluten-free,
do
or,
they know that at St.
And,
Luke's?
I don't know if they know that at St. Luke's. I
Well,
don't know.
they probably have to, it is a health department.
Okay,
But, you know, we're gearing up for that. We have volunteers already signed up so that we'll have it fully staffed for both days.
oh,
And we will have brochures to hand out to say, come join us, or, and then if you're gonna have postcards, we can hand them out too.
As long as you don't sell anything. We have a bake sale.
We can't sell any
You can't
products that we
sell
make.
what do you mean?
Well, I mean, like if you have something you want to sell.
A
I mean,
t-shirt
like-
or-
You know, we had the necklaces we sold last year and the
And they're
ornaments.
tightening up the regulations.
Okay.
Because a
No,
lot of
because
vendors
we
are
didn't pay
paying
for
a lot of
the
money to
Yeah,
sell their
booths.
wares.
Yeah,
So
We
a
can't
bake
sell.
sale, we have a permit for a bake sale.
Got it.
So we can do all the advertising and so forth, but you can't sell.
Got it.
We may have an auction item to show and make a buy,
Raffle
a
ticket.
raffle tickets
Yeah,
for it,
yeah.
but it won't be awarded after that event. So I mean, like, it's gonna be going through for us until the end of the year.
Okay?
But they can buy the raffle tickets then and, you know,
Okay.
And if you have any baked goods, you can come to Conway before 5 o'clock on Friday, and of course Saturday morning.
What about the Sunday?
yeah, you can bring some in mine too.
Whenever you got it.
Whenever you finish
Yeah.
buying them at St. Luke's, you can bring them there.
Yeah, but nothing that needs refrigeration.
I'm gonna buy them for St. Luke's.
Yeah, nothing, no cream cheese.
Oh, okay, geez, you need all these rules.
Well, because you have to get
Yeah.
refrigerated and we don't have that.
it's gonna be outside.
I have one too.
You can't
Bring
help
a
yourself.
cooler.
You maybe mentioned this already, but your idea is a postcard?
Well, I've done it the
talking
last 2 years, so for consistency, I think maybe it should look the same. It probably doesn't need to, but I have been working on it, and George Mack, and I meant to mention our newsletter, I don't know, I had some copies, I think I left.
But
them.
talking about what?
Um,
Age
Handout.
friendly,
Yes, yeah,
the walk?
yes.
Okay.
And how about the band, if it's,
Yeah, I don't know if we can go out on a limb, but maybe. But I think I didn't bring it, but anyway, George Mack, who's also been tax broker, and he's a retired graphic artist, so he helped with the newsletter, I was going to say, because I did mean to do that, and of course, it becomes a frantic month, the time the newsletter's due. It's a team effort, of course. Jill does the calendar, I help, Lisa has responsibility for it now, but George did help really sort of, it just felt eerier, but they spent a lot of time, and then Lisa having to use the new format, so it was a little tougher of a month. But he's going to look at the postcard that I have been designing and decide he should change it.
Yeah, I
So
don't know
we'll
if you
see.
need to, I mean, same size, but you don't need to keep anything missing.
Well, it's the same mission and the same sort of request we're making to, you know, get behind and support a new senior center. And I think it was good language, and I'm just listing what we do and all the activities and pulling out some of the main events coming up so that it's good advertising as well for some.
Well, I mean, Scituate, the town of Scituate has been awarded age-friendly designation. And let's get that information out.
One of the things.
And Caitlin volunteered to give you some information.
She did?
I got it.
Yeah, I read her mind. So yeah, I mean, to me, that might be the biggest thing we could tell people on the
Okay.
postcard.
Mm.
I could put it on the whole bit, okay. That's good. I didn't do that, but I could.
Yeah, because you can sort of encompass a lot of the other things that we're doing within that.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know, including the pursuit of
How about if we had a
reason.
banner made
Yeah?
that said
We're
Scituate
age-friendly
age-friendly community?
Mhm.
Banners are cheap.
Oh, they're not cheap. I did the parade, those banners for the parade, they cost a pretty penny,
Well, those are big.
but maybe they're
Yeah,
not
we
cheap.
just did one
Yeah.
for the church and it was
Yeah.
$35 or
Oh.
something, $40.
Well, so start with
Well,
the posters on the street.
Yeah, I would say,
Scituate has been awarded, Scituate is now an age-friendly community.
yeah.
If people start to ask questions, we can answer the question, or try to answer the question, but we need to tell them that that's out there. So, right out here and right out there.
And have them
Put on
put
on your sandwich board
And the
billboards.
community center there.
right, yeah, that's a good
Right.
idea, that would be
Yeah.
good. Well, we could even have something
On the
that could be
sandwich.
added to the ones we've already done and somehow, you know, just be
Sure.
affixed to those.
Okay?
Just one thing more from
Yep.
Fox. We are gonna be having a table at the art fair, so on the 25th of August, so, like we did last year.
And there you can sell things.
Hmm?
And there you can sell things.
Right, right. And we did pretty well last year,
Did you say the 26th of August?
25th,
It's Saturday.
Saturday,
Oh, where is that gonna be?
at the community building.
Oh, okay, okay.
Very good. Anybody have
Do you
any?
want supplies? Do you want stuff
But
for the yard sale?
it's not a yard sale, it's an art.
Oh, excuse me. I think it's time for me to go. Thank you. Sorry about
We
that.
haven't decided whether we're doing a yard sale. so
Disruptive.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she's got a previous commitment.
Yes, sorry about that. Will we see you next, we're gonna be here next month? Another meeting?
I
I
think so.
would think so.
Okay.
And rest for the wearing.
Just on Bardman and things like that,
This
and
summer.
age-friendly and steering committee stuff, yeah. Okay. Old business, new business. I think everyone received an email earlier this week from Janice
Yeah, I actually
with a draft of,
Thank you.
have copies too. I updated
Oh, that was very nice.
some things.
I mentioned
so, yeah, so first of all, we want to thank you for putting together even a draft. The draft was an improvement. So, I don't know if anybody had any, yeah.
This incorporates in red are your comments, so everybody can look at them. What do we need down here, or? We need some. I will get your name in here.
You know, when, Henry,
I got it.
everybody read?
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing as I was going through this is, what is your actual title?
Right, so, right, Director of the Council on Aging and Senior Center. I mean, so, yeah, that's an old title, that was my comment. Thus far, just because I really didn't have a chance to sort of go through
The Director of the Council on Aging and Senior.
Could we
So
ask you for comment?
you can certainly comment.
Okay.
My thinking here is, we wanna do anything we need to do to build on what Janice has built. And then probably, so, like, I still consider this maybe a draft.
It is a draft,
right?
yeah.
I think it would be helpful, personally, I think it would be helpful if a couple of people from this board got together and brainstormed in detail what is here, either separately or together, and came and sort of put as many of the dots on the i's as possible, and then bring another document back for approval and a vote. Now, Linda mentioned to me the other day, even then, if we approve it, it still might need to go elsewhere, right?
I think it needs
It's
to
gotta
go
go
to
to
the
the
Board of
town
Selectmen
or the
for
Board of
final
Selectmen.
approval.
So,
I mean, I know it.
but I'd like to make sure that we pull together as comprehensive a document as we can.
I mean, in no place in the old bylaws does it say that.
In terms of approval.
The approval, I mean, what the, any amendments is what I had here, that they may be amended, altered, replaced by a written notice to the board members of the council. It said 2 weeks in advance of the meeting, the presentation and discussion, and shall be placed for vote at the following meeting.
So that, so, I mean,
What
we can
has
check.
changed here fundamentally is that I put in here, we discussed this back in October, I hate to say how long ago it was, but adding associate members in 2018 for the first time, up to 3. And I know that you had said, you sent me an email saying they would have to be considered, go through all the.
Municipal employees.
Yeah, but would they if they're non-voting?
I'm not sure.
I would think if they're non-voting, we wouldn't have to concern ourselves with that.
I don't know. We should check. Like, if they're, I think I would err towards they would need to be. We can check
Well,
with, we
what
can check
could
with someone.
change that is when you made a comment here suggesting that if a member, if we didn't have a quorum, that we could ask the associate members.
Then they can
Just a
become a
vote.
voting
So
member.
that would change things, I
That is
think.
true.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I don't know if we would, want to do that. Quorum is only majority.
Right.
Greater than 50%, which I don't think since I've been on here, I've seen that we never have that.
Right.
The other thing that fundamentally changes here is suggesting that we would make recommendations to the board. Now, I don't know if we've done that in the past. Board of Selectmen
No.
seems to select every single member of every
Mhm.
committee, which I think is,
That's been the process historically, continues to be, it's a lot.
it's
So I
a
don't
lot,
know.
a lot.
I don't know
I
if
don't know
we
why they
could,
want to still do
I
that.
know,
Right.
if we could make a different recommendation and be unique, or if,
Yeah.
Well, see, but I see it, we still can do sort of both. If this board or any other board goes through the process of identifying, interviewing, et cetera, and then once we've made a decision as to our choices, then take those to the Board of Selectmen for approval, that's sort of a sign-off to me, but that's fine. They haven't done anything but say, yes, these people have been vetted by the council, and unless we have any questions, we're gonna sign off on it. As opposed to they're doing all the vetting themselves, which to me is crazy.
I agree, but, they do put stuff out there on the, internet saying soliciting applications. So what happens if they solicit an application that we haven't gone through that? I mean, we would have to get their buy-in, I think, that they would be willing to do it this way.
Oh, yeah.
It would
yeah.
relieve them
Oh, yeah.
of a very tedious
Oh,
process.
oh, yeah, no, we need to get their buy-in to do it,
Yeah.
but I think,
Okay.
I just think that would be a better way to do it.
I agree.
We gotta sell that to them, I think,
agree.
but,
So Janice, is this in the draft, and this was my, let's say, objection, but is this new where it says the committee committee meaning us, will recruit, nominate, and maintain a roster of potential members, giving priority for open members' positions to be appointed by the associate. So, is that new? I would love to see that. I would love to see that we make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen of the people that we think, you know, are
Right,
appropriate.
that's what I just said.
And I happen to be
Yeah.
watching the last couple of Board of Selectmen meetings on TV. It was a slow night, there was no soccer or anything, no. And they were interviewed, there were some people that were being interviewed for the Council on Aging. And I said, wait, shouldn't we have some say in that?
Exactly. Exactly,
and
that's what I'm saying, we
have
should do the
people-
vetting and be able to just
Right, and they
send it
just
up to
stand
rubber
there.
stamp,
Yes,
you know?
right.
I mean, I don't want to belittle the process, but
Yeah.
where the rubber meets the road should be here,
Yeah, sure,
not with them,
yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, so when we originally went through this, I had put together this document where I had what the existing language is, what Board of Selectmen general bylaws, and then some options. And so that was one of the options we had all agreed
Hmm.
made sense, so that's why it's
Okay.
incorporated into this draft.
Okay.
And then what's in here in red, I think, were JD's questions, you know, things maybe we should think about. I think how we amend these bylaws might be something we think about, or it might be fine as is, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to meet with anyone, I'm happy to come and
So,
meet with
yeah.
you, and you and I can go through
Maybe
this.
a smaller,
and-
or anyone interested, but smaller, you know, a small subcommittee.
Yeah,
And I
that
would
would be my
attend, and
suggestion.
then we could just, yeah, go through it, which would be great.
And even just
Monday or Friday,
having.
Monday or Friday, is that it? Oh,
and I-
good for you.
And I appreciate just having
I
the
like
hard
those
copy, because this is helpful to sort of be
Yeah,
able to
it's easy to mark up, I'm still with you.
sit and read, and then,
Yeah.
whereas online, even, I read it, and I said, boy, I don't have any, if I want to compare and contrast against another document, so this is helpful. Just
Yeah,
having
so
it.
I went back and cleaned up a little bit, and then I kept seeing Linda's title and thinking, I've seen it. And I did, and I said, well, I'll update it. Yeah, so any comments, send them to me by email or whatever, and next time, and maybe talk to Karen about it.
Right.
But to tell you the truth, if we wanted to do it this month, almost any Monday or Friday is kind of fine.
Anybody else have any comment? I mean, I know
Anybody
some
else
people might be
interested?
just reading this for the first time even, but.
Do you want to listen?
Fridays are okay.
Okay, awesome.
The other thing we can do is, if this is a Word document, and, you know, anybody want to make change, just turn on the
Yeah,
change
we can
tracker.
Turn down the review,
Yeah.
track changes, yeah.
Right, then you can correct that.
Yeah,
Because
so
actually it has a name.
submit to Janice
Yeah.
as the author editor, if you will, but.
I'm the bylaw, that's my committee. I'm volunteer.
Or we can wait and see if the 20th or 27th is a beach day, or if you want to come in.
Yeah, I
Or-
think 27th I kept in.
Okay. Or we could certainly early.
Yeah, so I mean, anybody who's got, if you've got a thought, a comment, if you want to get involved in sort of drilling down a little bit on this, coordinate with Janice. I mean, this is already better than what currently exists. So thank you very much for even getting us to this point.
Great job.
You know, and at some point, we can just, you know, I mean, it is a document that changes over time. So we need to make sure we build in the ability for a future board to make changes to it, but.
I'll check
it's a
Yeah.
huge help.
with Lorraine or the BOS office.
So one thing I didn't put in here, and I think we may have talked about it, just because so much time passes so quickly, is maybe establishing a annual
Review.
meeting.
An annual final
Yes.
review?
Just an annual meeting, where after the fiscal year when.
It's supposed to be changing.
Maybe talk about who's been, you know,
They are, yeah. that is
officer
true.
positions.
Mhm.
Look at that.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think other towns, maybe Linda, you know better, but I think other towns probably say we're doing this. May not be every year, maybe every 2 years, every 4 years, every 5 years. but there is a consistency where they built a process to say, okay, now it's time to look at this again. Is it relevant? Is it updated? Is it current? Does it make sense? Do we need to make changes? Is it good?
So our last was 99.
Right. Right.
A couple
So I
of
think-
couple of years.
Next
ago.
year.
Next year will
As
be
I
10
said,
years.
this is already a huge step
step,
forward,
yes.
this document. So. Well, so if we can plan to maybe have Leslie and
Why don't we
Linda
talk- yeah,
coordinate
the
with
20th,
Janice
why
and,
don't we-
or your, all your schedules to maybe,
What's the 20th?
Friday,
Friday,
it's
it's
a
a Friday.
Friday.
Yeah. The only Friday. Oh,
it's
dear.
next Friday, it's a week from tomorrow, it'll be next
Yeah.
Friday.
I promised to go away.
It's okay?
But
It's
any
July.
Monday afternoon and any Friday after that.
Well, if we wanted to do August 3rd,
That's the Friday you're doing a party here, and that's
Oh,
the Friday
that's right.
before Heritage Day weekend.
all right, so bounce to the next one.
Yeah,
That's all right.
August 24th.
August 24th.
In the morning, I think.
That's a Friday.
Yep.
How did you find 1990?
no, I
1998 or
had
19,
that too.
what did you say, 1998 or
It's-
1999 was the last time you
It's
took
on
it?
the
It's in our
original
notebook
back
in
in
the
the
bottom,
bottom.
yeah.
I printed
Okay,
Well, when I
Well,
was trying,
Wow.
we're into a new century here, that's great.
when we were trying to
This is
sort of
great.
increase the board, we had maybe 6 or 7 members, and got 9. There were 3 different versions. There was the town bylaws, there was this, there was that, and we sort of honed it down, so I think 9 works.
Right.
If we sort of combine what each of those bylaws had to say,
Right.
then that's how we get to 9, but only 2 years ago.
And the wording in here says that the Board of Selectmen determine how many board members there are, a minimum of 9.
Mhm.
So unless we change that, they could technically be interviewing people and just, you know, change the content, change the number.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like we might be able to step back and have the ability to figure out what works for this group, community,
Right.
organization. And then be able to try to drill down and define it, and then take it
Yeah.
to where we have to take it to get it approved, if we need to get it approved. But otherwise, maybe change it and change some of the functioning that seem a little inefficient to me, so.
Yeah.
Do we currently have members that we're gonna be replacing, or are we adding members, or we're obviously, we have any
well,
openings?
And when does that?
Janice had to be renewed, but, so we haven't heard whether they did, but
Uh-huh.
So.
She was the only one that was up.
And she just completed 3 years, so this would be her second term.
Uh-huh.
so we just haven't had that official word.
What
Mhm.
about, we'll see,
I don't know. You know, usually when I give out, which you guys might have, the roster, I do say when the terms are over, I just don't happen to have that in front of me. But anyway, I think it's one more.
Yeah,
I think it was last year that was her second term. It could be one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So now there's 2 more years. But I
Maybe,
could be
maybe it
wrong.
would be good.
But I can reprint those and do them next time. We haven't had to update the roster
Sure.
yet because we have a current roster, so in your binders that I may have given out, maybe back last August or September.
Anybody else have anything on bylaws? Janice, again, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
For
much.
carrying the banner here. Let's hop into a little bit, if there's a discussion around event planning, age-friendly.
Well, I
We
don't
sort of-
know.
We sort of touched on it, and bounced around on a couple of other spots
Well, it'll be
here.
something else, people, if they're interested in helping to plan, certainly I could use it and a committee would be good. When it comes to the walk, I'm trying to figure out a route, maybe whether to
Right.
have just a 1 mile route or whether to make it optional, have a couple, or whether, I don't know, 2.5. I did ask Chief Stewart what he thought. He thought sticking with, sidewalks where there was already sort of an
Sure.
area to walk, because we were sort
Sure.
of considering maybe going out to First Cliff, but. So whether we use the Driftway or downtown and go out to the lighthouse, sort of the standard walk, we could do that. Whether we use the community building maybe for the after event, since it is empty and available and has a parking lot, that's an idea. So then that would work. Chief Stewart said, James Gilmartin, Sergeant Gilmartin, he said he could plan these things in his sleep, but one of them would come to a committee meeting for us, just to sort of help with, they have experience
Good, well, let's get them.
in this sort of
Good.
thing,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
will. So anyway, I just hadn't planned it, I wanted to talk to everybody first, but right now I think I would target the 23rd over the 30th, but those were the two dates that might work.
Well, so I'll back up a little bit just to say, we were talking, maybe this is already understood, but we were sort of thinking about, A, it's summertime, B, we want to make sure we make this an appropriate public relations effort. And Linda thought maybe we can tie in the walk with sort of a formal announcement, including who knows what, that Scituate has been approved or certified or engaged as a age-friendly community. Between now and then, we've got a lot of building blocks that we can try to put together, including letting players in the community know about it, soliciting and looking for volunteers and steering committee. But it just felt like that might be a nice stake in the sand to do an event that also announces that, and it's an age-friendly walk, et cetera. So that's sort of what we were thinking about.
It might help people want to walk and also might
Good time of
convene
year.
enough of a group so that an announcement with the advertising, marketing, it would be a worthwhile.
Yeah, good time of year, schools are back in session, so people are back in town. We want to bring in kids, we want to bring in families. And so that stake in the ground with whether it's the 23rd, or you thinking 30th still maybe?
Well,
Or not sure.
only because I don't know if they'll say to me, oh, you can't do the 23rd because something else is going on, but if they'll let us,
Check
then
the
that would
football
be
schedule
choice
first.
one. No, I did, it's at night that day.
Okay.
It's a night game, it's a night game, so
Okay.
that's,
So
then we should say
Okay.
definitely
Right,
it has to
okay,
be.
right.
Yeah.
this
And I was
Sunday,
going,
this is a night
after
game.
church, so I didn't want to sort of impede that, so it would be sort of at 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, I think. It could be noontime. St. Mary's has an 11 o'clock mass, just not knowing if we were going to go through here, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Go there or use that parking lot, that's why I'm saying that.
Yeah, so we just want to be able to have that stake in the ground, to be able to build up our promotional efforts to then maximize that if at all possible, whether it's with whatever medium. Mariner, photographers, steering committee, board of selectmen, state rep, you name it, to get in and, read us the letter that
Well, maybe
we
we
received
could
from.
co-write an article for the Mariner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, so you imagine this would be because I know like AARP would have come out and sort of present this with the.
Yes, they
Yeah,
would, so we have the
absolutely, yeah.
certificate, but they didn't sign it yet, they would do that
Because
formally.
sometimes they do that at like a Board of Selectmen meeting too,
Yeah.
which can also be nice because it's video
Yep.
taped and.
It's on TV,
and
right.
a lot of, I think of it too from like the naysayer perspective of like they potentially would be watching that and sort of, I don't know, it's a buy-in of a different kind.
It is.
More of a stakeholder thing, and then the walk could be sort of more the community launch.
Yeah,
And my other thought was to ask find out if Mark Fenton might be around,
Yep.
because he's the walk
I
guru.
thought
Yeah.
we would try to,
And he
we would
could
call
maybe do a
him.
quick presentation or comments about the importance of
Would
walkability
love
in
that,
age-friendly communities,
Yep.
and that would be.
So, I was gonna do that, that's great. And you could if you want, or I will, but I have his contact.
Yeah, no, go for it, yeah.
Is this the official proclamation? Or that's what you want to call it?
Yeah.
Signing off?
I think so.
Yeah.
But our state, somebody from the state ARP office would actually come out and present that.
They would. And they said that in the letter, or maybe she
In
said it
the email, I think, that we got, yeah.
And we definitely have to go to the board, so, I should submit this and let the board of selectmen know. I mean, it's a town-wide thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
He may have, I sent it to Jim when we got the corrected letter, because at first they sent me the wrong letter, because they didn't update the previous one, 257th was, not Groton, Massachusetts,
Right.
Goff-
Right,
Goffstown, New
right,
Hampshire.
yeah, right.
But, so anyway, then they had to update the
Good.
letter for us, so we are 258. Anyway, so we would have to do that, so we can sort of target a date in August, that would make some sense, right? And then have a
Yeah.
month to then,
You could also announce the walk
Yes.
at that
Oh,
time
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
and say, you know, this is the official proclamation, you know, the first community event's happening September 3rd.
Right, so, I mean, again, to me, that maybe is, even without lacking a lot of detail, it's just something on that postcard for the Heritage Day,
Yeah.
Conway table.
Yeah.
and here's.
As long as you're
Yeah,
comfortable with the 23rd.
I am.
Okay.
Are you? Paul?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we talked about it with staff, and I think somebody might be going away, but I couldn't do it. 16th, the 9th is soon,
Yeah.
the 30th, I think the game is at 1, you know, and
Yeah,
I'm
no.
just saying, it really does boil down, and it's supposed to be in September because we're doing this as part of the Go for Life MCOA sponsored sort of month of walking promotion.
Yeah. We'll have the whole lifespan represented.
For sure, for sure. Okay.
Good.
Now, do we have wheelchair people participating in this, you know, we should look for volunteers too.
We should, yeah. It should get, I suppose, yeah, you can do that.
We should, yeah.
But I mean, that's a good point, again, I mean, at some point, we want to make sure it's a good turnout.
Mhm.
So we want, and we want all ages.
Right.
Right, the schools, you know, definitely, I would think.
Yeah.
Families.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking of at the community center to have at the end for
At the end.
appeal?
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, a couple of ideas, but we had the drumming circle before. I found somebody else who does a family drumming circle, or he does all ages, and I thought that could be fun, and it doesn't have, it's sort of party-like.
Mhm.
And then, you know, an ice cone machine, not machine, you know, truck.
Yeah,
You
ice
know,
cream truck.
Some music, could be either live music maybe.
Yeah.
or-
And then I would think certainly a table where we can talk about the senior center progress and
Yes,
what
yes.
age-friendly really means
Yep.
for the
Yep,
community.
yep.
People can ask questions, because I think if we can attract all ages and
Yeah.
families, that's gonna be a really great
Yep.
way to get people sort of knowing what we're doing.
Maybe Foster could sell some T-shirts.
Sure, we've got plenty of hats, which.
People who walk usually like to have
Yeah.
a T-shirt and, you know, shirt
Yeah,
and
it's
what they're
Well, I was
walking for.
thinking of
Yeah.
having something done that we could
Yeah.
give out, whether it's a rubber bracelet or a visor or a
Mhm.
T-shirt.
Sure.
We would do that for the senior center.
Yeah.
Sure.
Could the logo go on?
Yes.
Yeah.
We want everything.
We don't need to talk about it tonight, but, you know, one of the things we should think about as we gear up for
Yes.
all of this is sort of what we're calling. Is it
Yes.
age-friendly Scituate? Is it livable Scituate? Is it Scituate for all ages? Whatever, a little bit of a
Yeah.
name for the initiative so that we can start to build people just knowing.
Or on the brand label.
So I can, I've heard a lot of ideas, I can put a little list together and sort of kick it around, maybe.
Okay.
The age-friendly I like, sometimes people sort of, you know,
It gets overused.
no, it's just that, you know, I think with the AARP, everybody sort of thinks it's only for old people.
Mhm.
And I think we want to think about it more of a community-wide,
Yeah.
so just want to be careful.
Well, yeah,
But you also
it's
get too
funny.
broad too.
I was thinking about like crosswalks in Scituate, and there are several, but they're often on streets where we're driving a little faster, and you have to stop quickly, whereas, and I've heard this mentioned, but maybe lights or maybe better signage, and that is just as important for those little kids on bikes
Mhm.
as it is for someone older who may walk a little more slowly. So that is just one idea to target, something that I think would serve all the populations,
Mhm.
making them a little bit more visible or warning them.
Okay.
Now, GATRA has offered actually to buy a bench
Oh, cool.
for, not so much for this, but again, we talked about a bench or something. But the food pantry is not officially on the route, but there are people who would use the food pantry who might need the transportation. And so it was mentioned by them that they were just gonna put out some chairs, the plastic chairs, and like lock them up. And I happened to mention it to Joanne
classy.
yesterday, and she said, you know, I'll talk to Frank about buying a bench. And then she called me and said, yeah, well, they'll buy a bench.
That's very
So
good.
that's It's very
That's
nice,
the
but I
nice
have to
thing.
check with the Masonic Temple because they.
I mean, and the food pantry's on the route, don't it? Gantry
Well, you
goes
can
down-
always
Gantry
wave
goes
it down, it goes
Country
by,
Road.
it
Yeah.
just isn't
Yeah.
a stop, that's what I meant to say,
Right.
no, it's on the.
Yeah.
But that's the nice thing about this apron, I know you sent a note about the beach pad
Yep.
things, and I know they purchased some beach wheelchair.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that nobody has to have set out that that's an age-friendly thing, but we
Right.
can take credit for it.
Exactly.
And we
Yeah.
should, and be able to
Because
say. these
Scituate
are all the
has
things
already
that
done
Scituate's
very
doing.
well.
Exactly, so we want to stockpile all that information because we might want a laundry list at some point.
Right, so we can, when we say, what action have we
Yeah.
taken, we can say, we've already done these things.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, anybody else got anything? I mean, so there's a lot of stuff, just based on some of the ideas we're just tossing around, there's to sort of loop in for planning purposes between now and
Okay.
kickoff. You want to give us a little update on your naval band concert? I think you touched on that also, but.
Well, you know, I had actually asked and applied or requested a smaller ensemble in June for the 4th of July barbecue. And you never know with them, it's a hit or miss. Certainly it's around the 4th of July, but anyway. He was very apologetic because it actually took quite a while. I was really on ice waiting to see if they were coming, and he'd given me the intermediary information that it sounded like maybe they were coming. But anyway, then they had to have another meeting, and he said, if we can't, well, whatever. So they couldn't, too many requests. So he said, now just go directly to him. So it's one of the sergeants that happens to be in the office and coordinates this and meets with the bigger group that decides where the musicians are all going to go. So now we're on the short list, is all I'm saying, and I'm bypassing the first tier to go directly to the second tier with our request for November 11th. It does, however, happen to be Veterans Day. I mean, there's gotta be a lot of requests for
Gotta be a lot of
Veterans Day,
requests,
but I think, you know, maybe we have the inside track. So anyway, I did finally send it off yesterday. I had wanted to do it this week, and I mentioned to Lucille and also Greg Lassard,
right.
who's the music
Middle
director
school.
for the middle school.
Middle
But-
school.
So he said he would, on his end, work with the school people who have to approve and allow us to be in there. Hopefully that does work. And he had some suggestions. He didn't want to do it closer to the holidays because there are so many concerts and things. And also he was concerned for the kids. He said it's crazy today. The students are very anxious about the work that they need to get done often on a weekend. So that earlier in the day, I believe, was going to be more.
Right, so they get home, do homework.
Yep,
Right.
over a school night for that matter,
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
Thursday night. Not that they don't have concerts. So anyway, he gave me some suggestions, so I went with that. And hopefully it'll be good collaboration. He was excited. We'll figure out a way to get the students involved, get the veterans and/or those organizations involved, and hopefully there. So they, capacity 750, that's the other thing he thought could be a good thing, bad thing. In other words, it's not the biggest, but it's bigger than, you know, here, for instance, so it could be good.
So is November 11th
Sunday.
a dedicated date, or is that still to be confirmed?
That's what I sent the form in with that request.
Okay.
For that date. I started to request a backup date of the Friday night, but truly, it's the fall, it could be a football game, I don't know that, and I wanted to send the form, so I said, if we need a backup date, tell me, and then I will go do that research
Okay.
in the meantime. So again, that will be something hopefully to promote and plan and use to, age-friendly it is, we're collaborating and.
Their generation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
generation. And Mr. Lassard wanted to have the kids somehow engaged in, oh, I know, and maybe have one of their conductors working with the kids, which I've seen done before with the schools, it's great. When they teach them something fresh and new, it's really nice, and they play it.
Okay. We've sort of talked about senior center and Heritage Days. Is
Well,
there
it's
any
the
other?
postcard at this
Yeah,
point, I
any
don't know what
other
else, and we have
additional
banners, you know, we have banners
conversation?
galore from the parade, which we can use, we can add to them, we can offer them up for the tables. So I had planned hopefully to make them useful because they were expensive.
Yeah. Let's use them again, right? Well, does does anyone else have any other business? I think if I'm reporting out on our advisory committee meeting, it was just Maude and Caitlin and I a few weeks ago now. We really just kind of focused in on beginning to zero in on steering committee and and getting that underway. And now we know that we've been approved, et cetera, so now we want to move. I'm not sure if, and we've sort of talked at length about events. We've talked about bylaws, which is nice. An exciting topic.
Committee of one.
Thank you
Somebody's
again.
gotta do it. It's a
Thank
dirty
you
job,
again. Does anybody else have any other business?
Sure.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Yep.
Sounds good, thank you.
Next meeting is